Hello, everybody. This is Linda DeVitas, owner and founder of healingsonthego.com. I'm a psychic clairvoyant medium, certified healer, Reiki healer, professional space clearer, and a whole bunch more. To see what services and everything that I offer, go to healingsonthego.com. I would like to introduce my very special guest, Matthew Pinard, to the show.
Hello again.
Welcome again. Nice to have you back on.
Yeah.
Today, everybody, will be talking about real life spooky tales. How are you feeling, Matthew?
I'm doing well, doing good. There was quite a lot of activity out here today in the skies. So,
Oh, wow. Tell us about it.
well, it was I like to call them angelic manifestations. I think they're pretty clear.
Oh,
But just
wow.
beautiful, radiant.
That's gorgeous.
I mean, I go to Catholic Mass every morning, and that's been a bone of contention for some people that are now bashing Catholics due to our belief in Mother Mary. But anyways, I find it very powerful. And like this, as I was there, the whole sky just turned this blood orange, radiant reds and oranges. And it was just incredible. And then the whole day long, these kind of angelic where you can literally see like striations of a wing, it just felt very protected. And, the Bible says, Jesus said in end times, they will have eyes, but not see, ears, but yet not hear. Some people will look at those things. Oh, that's beautiful weather. And I've gotten that, and they don't see through the veil. And people are talking right now, and I believe it's true because we are in Revelations. I think there's no question about that. The veil thinning, being able to see.
Right.
Poltergeist. I've had, as we'll see with my door, I've had some poltergeist activities. I've seen, So this happened on January 8th as these wildfires were raging in Los Angeles, which seemed very apocalyptic. My door opened itself at 6 p.m. and that white circle appeared, and you can see, like in the door frame, it looks like somebody did a bad paint job, just partially white.
Yeah, it sure does.
But that when that door is shut, and if I took a photo of it right now, that white thing is not there at all. It's the cream color. So it just was this very paranormal, like what opened my door, even to the point of sliding the deadbolt out, hitting the white circle. What was interesting was it happened at 6:41 p.m. and I was led to a passage, Isaiah 64:1, which was like, I will come down and shake the mountains, So, wow. Yeah. And, there were earthquakes just going off the charts in California during these wildfires. I think somebody said over 900, I read. But,
wow.
Definitely feels like we're in apocalyptic times, and
Definitely.
our higher creation is trying to, smack some sense into us. Like, I mean, look where you're at, folks. You're on the brink of a third world war. You've had pandemics. You've got
what's going on. The spirits are coming in, and you froze for a minute, Matthew.
Oh boy. See, exactly what I'm talking about. I'm telling you, like, I've had nothing but paranormal here in my home. And you'll see some of the photos of what's been above my roof recently too, which just
I told you, you can see that everything crazy.
Yeah. So there's one that was from last night. I
Quick hello to Anne and Maria. Welcome, everybody. Welcome.
But I definitely see an angelic figure.
Go ahead,
here.
Matthew. It's cutting off.
Well, can you hear me? So I definitely see like an angelic.
Yeah, it's going low.
Yeah, I see it. I see an angelic figure here for sure in this frame. And that was like last night over my roof. So
that's beautiful.
So that was very interesting. So that was above a local church here the day that the wildfires in LA started, and they started in the Pacific Palisades. You can see that figure is forming a P to the right. So a lot of supernatural things are going on that I think are coinciding with apocalyptic type of events. For example, I don't know. I mean, you guys are Greek, right? So Santorini is waking up. So what, 200
Santorini
earthquakes?
is waking up is right.
Yeah, and
And
somebody
that's why
noted
the earthquakes now.
yeah, somebody noted there's a Santorini perfume. So, this could be a volcano that, I think God's trying to talk through many natural outlets, shall we say.
It's definitely. And for those of you that don't know, they ask me, there are different types of spirits. They're earthbound. Hi, Michelle. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Please do like, share. The constant earthquakes. So they want to know the different kinds of spirits, and I'll let you explain it to them. Thank you, Michelle. You're so sweet.
Well, that's a really good question. I think there's a lot of more research. I've mentioned in my books my own reincarnation experience, which my Catholic faith would have told me that, no, you're just dreaming, you're imagining that. But I know it's true. There's more formal research, as we talked before, about like University of Virginia. Oh, am I still there? Okay.
Yeah,
They're
you
doing,
froze for a second.
like we talked, sense memory, where somebody may have died by a gunshot in one life and they're born with a birthmark in the second life.
Right, right.
So there's the theory that none of us are fully to heaven yet, and that when Jesus comes back and this trumpet sound and the dead shall rise from the graves, and then we all meet him on the cloud. So that's a school of thought, right? I believe that the spirit in many can travel across dimension.
Right.
So I think what we're seeing now, and some of these kind of elites are talking about this, which I believe are actually Satanists, but they're talking about these portals and these, like, and a $500 billion AI initiative called Stargate. So there's this theory, like, trying to bring in entities. I think CERN's really doing this, from other dimensions, portals. So the spiritual realm, we know there's fallen angels. We know that there's archaeological evidence that the human race was seeded by an alien race called Anunnaki. That's pretty
right.
established. Then there's belief systems like star seeds, like Pleiadian and Andromedan strains, or Orion, of being seeded onto the earth, and basically a higher life kind of alien spirit being brought into a human existence. There's obvious, my personal belief is, like, the Old Testament, the New Testament, that the Bible, and talking about like Book of Enoch and fallen angels and angels. It's interesting because you look at some of the cave paintings of the Anunnaki, and they're these really tall beings with giant wings. What does that sound like in the Bible? Right? So
Right.
are we a race that's just totally independent? There's no other races. There's no space travel. It's all in our minds. We're in some kind of bubble or flat Earth with a dome or a firmament. That can be debated. But what I think can't be debated is that there are visitations from other universes, solar systems, that perhaps, there's stories of ladies out there that said they met their, they were alien abducted in a UFO, and they met like their 6 half alien breed children. Now,
well, I got to tell you a story about that, about the alien.
Some people would hear that and be like, that person needs some psychiatric help, but who's to say that? I'm just saying, I've videoed, these drones or whatever these are. I've videotaped and I've shown some of them to these odd lights moving. I've shown them to pilots. No, that's not a plane or a helicopter that I'm aware of. I've seen things out here in Arizona that were definitely more than paranormal, definitely manifestations of some kind of craft. So when people talk about rapture, there's the thought that we're going to be raptured out of our bodies into a different light being state. Right. The photo I'll show later shows my head being raptured into a golden cloud.
Do you have it? Do you have that picture?
It's in there. Wow. And my initial even showed up. What do I believe that could have been? Yeah, there you go. So that's actually my head. So that's my profile. That's what my hair. So you can see the nose and a mouth and hairline, ears, and then my initial M.
Wow, that's amazing.
In a golden cloud. So, could we be yanked out of our human body into a soul state or a light being state? I think that's what people associate with the rapture beliefs. Could our physical body go up without being transformed? Because the Bible mentions in the blink of an eye, corruptible will take on incorruptible and mortal will become immortal. But what does that actually look like? Is it flesh and blood? Are we back in a spirit form where we're bodiless, disembodied spirits? So disembodied spirits, can they be deceased loved ones? I've had experiences. There's a school of thought, like if you're speaking to the dead, it's called necromancy, and it's not really them. It's a demon mimicking them. Or
That's so funny you say that. My daughter even told me about the mimics. I mean, I didn't even know that till now.
I personally don't believe that is always the case. When I've channeled people that I knew were in a good place, like with Mary, the angels, saints, I always go through her or Jesus. And yes, she is alive. Trust me. You can talk to her. And I get way more detailed and, very good information. I've told people things they've had in their homes that I could not possibly know. And I could only know that through spiritual communication.
Right. Channeling. Yes.
Yeah. I've told people 5 different things in their house that only a loved one would know that had passed, and they were just blown away. So I think these gifts are good and spiritual in nature. I don't, I'm not like praying to Satan to give me these gifts.
No. Don't you hate when they tell you that? Oh, you must be demonic.
You're channeling. Your grandpa's dead. He's not talking to you. That's demons. And I don't believe that. I just don't. So there's all kinds of beliefs about afterlife, reincarnation. Are we in a state of spiritual sleep until the trumpet sounds? I don't think so. I think our consciousness does. There's a lot going on right now with consciousness studies, right? And I think our consciousness does. In fact, they've done studies of people that had passed and then came back, and they were fully like looking down at their body in an OR. I mean, if you're supposedly dead until Jesus comes, and how could you be doing that then?
That's right.
So I think we're inherently divine. We have that divine spark within us, and that is supported scripturally, by the way. How could corruptible take on incorruptible if we weren't having, divine gifts of ascension? Do we need a Christ or a God to help us? Sure, but that doesn't mean we can't do it. How could I get just through praying about the rapture and wondering about it, how could I get my head in a golden cloud like that? If I wasn't connecting to source, really good light, right? Obviously that was not a demon in a golden cloud,
Well, that's what I want to say, that we don't work, like I don't work with demons. And when they see that you have gifts and you channel things and you see ghosts, they assume, oh, you're praying, everything's bad what you do. No, it's not bad. It is a gift. And we do ask for the higher, white light. We call on to Jesus and the archangels. We don't sit there and talk to the darkness. At least I don't.
Well, I also do binding prayers, meaning a rosary. I went through this. There's a really great spiritual warfare book I was given by a Catholic priest who utterly believed in my experiences and was pretty blown away by them, actually. There's some great prayers that I've done so I always bind them before I go into that kind of request of a spirit or a person that had passed. I always bind the dark side because I don't want them mimicking.
And let me ask you real quick. Some people will say, what is binding? What does that mean? Because I know a lot of people don't.
So for me, the most powerful one for me is the rosary. So when Mary appeared to farm children in Spain in 1917, she told them pray a rosary per day for world peace. And like these were just kids, and one of them became a nun and did it her whole life because they obviously had an encounter with a divine, in a divine state of grace being. So I do that. I use that. So that's a very powerful exorcist type tool. I do some of these. There's things in Latin. There's an Anunnaki prayer I've been given that's really powerful. I do those things. I request that those darker energies be driven away from me when I'm going to go into a space where I'm going to try to gain some knowledge from that spiritual realm.
Do you speak in tongues? Some people do with tongues, which I don't know anything about, but I've heard
So it's funny you asked that. I was raised in a very charismatic ecumenical. It was kind of a faction of the Catholic Church. Some people ended up calling it a cult. Yeah. But they did speak in tongues and lay hands on, and like I found, like with my healing gifts, and I've done some incredible, or been a part of One guy had terminal heart cancer and the tumor shrunk on its own. He's alive 4
Wow.
years. He's alive
That's
4 years
wonderful.
later after his doctor said you have 6 months. And his best friend who had me pray for him, she utterly said to me one day, "I know it was what you did."
Ah,
And
that
so
blessed Matthew.
he had
That's
stopped
awesome.
all treatment. He had completely stopped chemo and radiation, and the tumor shrunk on its own. And it, I've had 5 or 6 other stories like that. Lupus. My father had COPD. So I've seen real miracles coming from prayer. But it's
Yes,
always,
too.
like I said, I'm not sitting there calling on Lucifer. He can't do it. So I'm literally seeking the Father, right? And there's a lot of ways to do that. Our fathers. Or Mary can help convey this message. Trust me, she can. So I always seek that side because that's where the power is. That's where the healing is. That's where the light energy is. That's how I get those things to appear above my roof that people love, my photos. Some people see my pictures and they'll have a spiritual experience just looking at the image. So they'll get I get head chills right down the spine.
Oh, nice.
They might get a tingling, or they might say, I just feel protected, or I have a charge of energy, which I get those too after I do a rosary, for example. But yeah, I mean, that's what I do. But you always want to block the dark side, obviously. So.
Of course, and protect yourself before doing anything. The different types of spirits that I've seen is poltergeists, earthbound spirits. Those are very attached to the earth and they haven't crossed over.
Yeah, some of them I found they just want their family to know that they're okay, they're fine.
Exactly.
I had a gentleman and his wife had contacted me. She ended up being a great reader of my books and reviewer. And her husband had passed from COVID. And, I mentioned things like a potted plant, a bicycle, a tea kettle set, and a stuffed bear. And she immediately was like, those were all things we were given when he passed.
Oh, wow. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, he was trying to say and show, I can still see all that. So they really are with you. And,
they are.
Yeah.
They are.
And people are like, well, how do I learn that? How do I do that? I did it through, I literally had an NDE, but then I started getting, after my NDE, apparitions of Mother Mary, Jesus, huge angels, like wings that would cover the whole sky. And you'd look at it and be like, no, that's no cloud. So these things can come in this certain state that's kind of a parallel dimension and give message, give energy, give prophecy. I had an intuition from someone who had committed suicide, was not in hell. And he said, go tell this other friend the words ghost light. And I did. And that guy was writing something about a ghost light. It was like a TV show he wasn't telling anyone the name of. And then he said, he told me there's this guy who had committed suicide and came from light. And he was saying there's this great threat to humanity coming. Wow. And this was pre-COVID, pre any of these kind of crazy wildfires and earthquakes and volcanoes we have going crazy right now, which is very much in Revelations.
Yes.
And that's the other reason I do it. I want to, if there's a rapture, I don't want to stay here during tribulations. It's going to be the worst time in human history.
No, it's very scary. Yeah.
The Bible talks about it's going to be very dystopian. And the thing is we have the technology now for all these things to be put into place, like brain chips, hand scan. I just read today, there's like a new grocery store that will allow you free, you don't have to stand in line if you get this chip in your hand and you get 10% off. So they're really trying to push this kind of technocratic transhumanist agenda, which is very not good spiritually.
No, we're going to take a very, very quick commercial break and we will be right back right after these messages. Stay tuned, everybody.
I'm sorry to bother you, but I have 30 seconds to give you a very important message. My name is Arthur Lee. I'm the CEO inventor of LifeVac, a simple choking rescue device that could save a life in a choking emergency. We've saved over 3,000 lives now. but we're not there. 5,000 people a year choke to death, one child every 5 days. Please consider protecting your family in a choking emergency with LifeVac. Go to lifevac.net today. Thank you for your time.
Hi, I am Linda DeVitis. I am a psychic, clairvoyant medium, and certified healer. I have also written a book, My Journey from Darkness to the Light, which is available on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and on my website, www.healingsonthego.com. If you would like to book an appointment with me, call me at 917-929-4935. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back with my special guest, Matthew Pinard. Welcome back again. Let's talk more about spirits. And so they say, is there a difference between a ghost and the spirit? I think it's basically the same. Just one is.
Well, I mean, so I look at angels. Our angels are spiritual beings.
Right.
So you could consider that a spirit technically, but it's really a higher divine frequency they're vibrating at. And there's this thought that, well, angels, we don't become angels and angels can't become us. And I know that to be not true because I've done the research, trust me. And you can tell them. So I run into a lot of them and I try to tell them my belief about it. And they'll automatically go, oh my God, you're so right. My grandma used to call me Earth Angel, or I just knew things as a kid that nobody else knew. So there are these kind of experiments, or more so like, holy cow, look at what Earth's doing. We got to send some higher frequencies down there. They're off the rails, they're crazy. They can't discern evil. And a lot of that is what it is. I mean, I've suffered so many times in my life by people that were listening to the demonic and told I'm the threat, right? And they couldn't understand. They were being deceived. I knew the deception, but yet there was no way for me to seek any kind of retribution or justice about it because it's a spiritual problem. If this guy's just like, I hate that guy, I hate his books, it might be because he's listening to another spirit. It could be a fallen angel, can be a bad demon spirit. It's interesting. So I have this book on spiritual warfare by the Catholic Church, and they list all the names of Lucifer and everyone under him. Wow. And what's funny about it, when I found this book, they were all the names that I was listing him as in my books. So what does that tell you about? I knew all of the names. And the reason why the different names is he changes the names. Like, for instance, Hollywood, these people are being so deceived. They're probably being told, no, it's not the devil. It's Osiris, or it's Apollyon, or it's Abaddon, and these are just synonyms for Satan, Satana. Catholic Church in Latin calls him Satana. He's the original fallen. He took a third of the other ones with him. Wow. And this book expressly describes how we can go and become angels and come back and become earthbound again, which is what I believe happened with James Douglas, my predecessor. I know it happened. I've taken photos have been taken of my face and it's all light, and I didn't take it. It just appeared on my phone. So some spirit is doing that. So can they manipulate this reality? How did my door open and change colors? How did that thing appear above my roof?
Staying with you, Matthew.
I know. And see, but I knew that the one that we just showed that was above the roof was protection. But It was only protection because I called it in with a very specific set of things. And I'm happy to share them with the audience, what I use, what I say. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a whole spectrum. Hell is a real place. People believe that what CERN is actually doing, and I think there's more truth to this than they're trying to admit. And here's why. When they opened CERN, they did a full-on Baphomet ritual. Okay, if this is not a spirit, if this is only science and has no spiritual component, why are we bringing in, a fallen spirit to do this ritual?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
They understand. So what I believe what is going to eventually evolve on a very high level is, and you see it now with artificial intelligence. I'm selling for a gastroenterologist out here who's using AI to diagnose people. Wow. So you're going to see things like quantum mechanical physics and the spiritual realm start to make sense. For example, if a spirit like what was above my roof is disembodied or an angelic form just here to protect, what is the physics behind that? Is it sitting there? Because why did those clouds, which were, you could see through them to the stars, but they formed a form? So is that kind of parallel dimension? You know, quantum physics, for example, they thought there were 11 dimensions, and now they're finding 17.
Wow.
I'm gonna guess there's way more than that, and I'm gonna guess what these stargates are. What they want to really mess with is teleportation, just like the movies, where your physical form could go through something and be in Orion's belt.
Yeah, multiple dimension, exactly.
But spirits, angels already know how to travel through those kind of Einstein-Rosen bridges, which are not just theoretical, they are connectivity between universes. So it's a wormhole shortcut, to something that's trillions of miles away from us. There's still a way to get there. So angels, if my personal belief, and I know this for a fact from my life and death and rebirth and all that, I know heaven is somewhere in Orion. I know that. At least the paradise I'm used to seeing visually. And I've seen images of mansions there in heaven and things like that and what it looks like. And you can sit out and look at the nebula. I mean, it's beautiful beyond comprehension.
Oh, wow.
But the only way to get there is there's no craft that we know of, right? Now, the government's come out and said we have craft not created of this planet. So what are those craft? Are they from fallen angels and they're just in parallel dimensions? Like they've seen, UFOs just disappear. And I saw that the other day, like a white.
They're exit points. They're exit points in the earth, and that's how they are. Like in Bermuda's one of them. That's why the Bermuda Triangle, ships disappear, airplanes, and it happens during December. I remember when I went there, they said that that's December where that portal, things could fly out.
Well, and they know, I think we're going to find eventually that time travel is not just theoretical either, that these kind of bridges are exactly what permit. I think we'll find that the universe, what Jim, my predecessor, was trying to tell people is that the universe is infinite, not finite. And to wrap our heads around that, we've got to really accept that we're just not the only creation here.
Definitely. A quick hello to you, Lemia. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. Please do like and share. So yes, the difference between the spirits. And a lot of people say, well, how can I tell if a spirit is trying to communicate with me? That's pretty obvious. They'll make you signs.
It's funny. I've helped walk some people through their awakenings. So there's a lady, a friend of mine. Her husband's a military veteran. I'm a military veteran. I walked her through some of the prayers that I use, and I did some prayers for her. And almost right off the bat, these things appeared in her. She sends me daily texts of photos, and these things were just instantly appearing. And she's like, that's a wine glass, and that's a this, and I see a number here. And so she was just instantly you might see something visually in the sky. You could also get, what I get is spine chills. So I'll get this whole body chill, and I'll be like, whoa, something's really trying to get my attention. And there might be something above me, like in the sky. I seem to know too, like people were talking about when they were looking at these drones, they felt they were being telecommunicated with.
Wow.
So if those drones are, let's say, demonic, and there's a cloaking device to make it look like something, because they saw one like that was this, and then all of a sudden it became a helicopter.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Are these really deceptive spirits knowing how to trick us visually, or what? Are they in an alternate dimension and they're just here to kind of increase the fear and intimidation, which is satanic in and of itself, for the purposes of mind control? But I think that we'll find that a lot of things, for example, like psychosis, mental illness, schizophrenia, people hearing voices, that could be misdiagnosed and or improperly medicated. So what really needs to happen with a person like that, in my opinion, is use someone like with my knowledge to get the demons to stop, because they are doing that on some level to this person, because
they download here.
And there might be a higher light angel trying to get through, and that's why the demons are, trying to confuse. And that's what a lot of schizophrenia and psychosis, I believe, are definitely not chemical imbalance.
They're spirits, yes.
They are spiritual influence, which can then cause chemical imbalance. And then the doctor thinks, well, the way to fix this, we got to pump in more serotonin. And that, if it's a spiritual issue, it's not going to do anything.
That's true. And so let's see. What was the next question?
Frozen.
Have you ever encountered an aggressive spirit?
Yeah. So my wife, she'll kill me probably for telling this. She had 3 scratch marks down her leg, 1 in the shower, and then 3 on her back.
Oh, wow.
And I've had like a scratch all the way down my arm, like somebody just came in and
That's funny. I had 4 of them on my leg, like that, 4 scratches.
I've seen a giant cross fly across the room twice back in our home.
In your house?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
But if you guys are Tucker Carlson fans, he actually came out and said that this happened to him, and his whole body had been scratched. And like the next day, all he wanted to do was read the Bible.
Yeah.
I think those things are happening naturally because we're deep in Revelation. And even the Bible says, the red dragon, the serpent of old, is going to try to block our flight, our departure. So they're going to, the demonic are going to do everything. What they want more than anything is company and to prevent you from going to the other kingdom. So to do that, it might be through what the Bible would call sin, or, some kind of addiction or mental illness that, makes people go away from you, or, you're continually losing jobs because people think you're crazy, or you're getting mischaracterized in a certain light. I mean, those can all be spiritual. I've had people try to get me fired from jobs that were Christians.
Wow, that's crazy. Supposedly, right?
Admitted it to me, and it was like, this is a spirit. Just because somebody is out there, and I think some of the bigger preachers, we don't have to say their names, but Private Planes, and I think some of these guys are more than influenced by the other side. I know my own Pope has said things that were apostasy, like all religions are a pathway to God.
That's kind of true, because it's their own beliefs. Like maybe that's the way they, deal with things.
But from the Catholic dogma, from the Christian dogma, the only way to heaven is through Jesus Christ, right? So that's what their official stance is. But yet here's the leader of the church saying the opposite.
Oh, wow.
So what I mean is this kind of confusion. The demonic definitely doesn't want the truth about this place, what it's for, that there is a heaven, that there is a hell. They've had deep sea drilling into the earth, people picking up audio of people screaming under the earth.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyone that says, oh, there's no hell, you can do
what you scary.
Want. You can live the way you want, But it's just the easiest fix in the world is just confess the man who died on the cross and raised after 3 days, and
say his name. That's right. They don't like it. Do you know?
I'll tell you something too, because I've gotten attacked by my prayers, like Hail Marys. I've had people literally tell me, "Well, she's dead. She might be a saint, but she's dead until he comes and they're raised from the grave." Not true. She's in a glorified state. The Bible's very clear about her ascension. She's appeared to more than just me. Many people have had Marian apparitions over the years. But one of the things I was listening to a Catholic exorcist, and more than one of them said that as they were doing the exorcism, the demon, which will always, take on a deeper, throaty kind of screechy voice, and will always seethe at them and say, "We hate and fear Mary the most." And one of them even said, if Christians, or if people in general knew the power of the rosary, it would be like a hammer hitting everyone us on the head, and the war would be over. So you see why I do 1 to 3 per day, and I get things in the skies like I showed you that nobody else that I know of right now is getting.
And so, as I was gonna say, my friend, she was sleeping and she got attacked demonically. And I always told her they were gagging her. They didn't want her to say Jesus. So they were like holding her mouth, and that happened to her twice. And then she was like, "Well, I'm gonna say it anyway, or even think it." And then I told her, if you can't speak, put your hands together into a cross. That's what I did when I was gagged too. You know, sometimes I get psychic attacks too. And then they completely vanish. They hate his name and they hate the cross.
Sleep paralysis, this is a real thing where people, a lot of times it is ladies, will feel something jump on them and hold them, pin them down.
Yes, yeah.
Or even to the point of horrific assault. I look at my wife's scratches. I mean, something scratched her. Something scratched me. Something threw my cross. Something opened my door the other day. I'm hoping it's the other side.
That's hysterical. And scratched me too. So all three of us, it's crazy. Well, they ask, can spirits attach themselves to objects and people? Definitely they can. And objects especially.
One of the things psychics use, like myself, and I've done this where like girl was kidnapped, or I'll if I don't have an actual object that they may have touched, I usually use photos of things, and they will almost always like start to, for me it's like a TV screen that comes on, and I'll see things like, okay, golf club or bicycle or potted plant, something that had meaning to their spouse or their kid.
Wow.
And it's always pretty darn immediate. And I know it's not a mimic, a demon. I know it's not that, because I feel very different when the light angels are giving me stuff. It's that chill. That's just wonderful.
You feel the difference.
Yeah. If it's demonic, I'm going to be like sitting at home going, I just can tell the difference. So I know I'm communicating with this person, and they're really showing me who they were in life. Sometimes it's really specific stuff, and it'll even scare the family. Like, how could you possibly know? I know a woman, I told this story the other day. She lives in Georgia. She's my friend. And I said, what's with the merry-go-round? And she goes, how do you know I'm the only person in this town in Georgia with a merry-go-round in their backyard?
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
So,
or my father with a motorcycle, remember?
Yeah. So Linda had, I described your kind of this house he had and a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And the place you visited in Greece. And so, so that also lets you know that they're talking to you. Like,
yeah, of course.
Sometimes they'll give you real specific things, and it's like, how could I know that? I couldn't know that, right? I don't know if Ria's on. I did it for Ria, and I said something like a yoga studio, and she said I go and do yoga every morning by the water, and then I said something about a bicycle or something like that, and she was riding a bicycle. So sometimes I think that what we can do is kind of see things through the eyes of our, there's watchers in the Bible, angels,
right?
Not always. It's not demonic or fallen. It really is not. I think it's a gift, and if you have it and you know how to use it, and it does take practice. You gotta practice it. That if we are giving that, we should be using that, especially if it were demonic, they would want the suffering of this person that lost their loved one. They wouldn't want them believing that their husband or father is in a good place. And right? Why would the demonic want you to believe that?
Exactly.
They want you to not believe in heaven,
And with that thought, we will be right back right after these messages. Stay tuned, everyone.
I'm sorry to bother you, but I have 30 seconds to give you a very important message. My name is Arthur Lee. I'm the CEO and inventor of LifeVac, a simple choking rescue device that could save a life in a choking emergency. We've saved over 3,000 lives now, but we're not there. 5,000 people a year choke to death, one child every 5 days. Please consider protecting your family in a choking emergency with LifeVac. Go to lifevac.net today. Thank you for your time.
Hi, I am Linda DeVitis. I am a psychic, clairvoyant medium, and certified healer. I have also written a book, My Journey from Darkness to the Light, which is available on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and on my website, www.healingsonthego.com. If you would like to book an appointment with me, call me at 917-929-4935. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back with my special guest, Matthew Pinard. So I've had a lot of crazy experiences, of course, growing up in my mom's, crazy house. I was born and raised into demonic energy. And so recently my mom called me up and she's like, Linda, that's what happened. She said, I'm in the kitchen and the chair's rocking back and forth on its own. And she goes, she drops the phone down. And I told her, I hope you lock the door in back of you. She runs to her friend's house. And then she calls me later. She goes, don't tell your sister. She'll be scared to even be in this house. And then she said, I don't even remember if I locked the door. I think, she left it open, but she was so scared. It's still in there. And that's why I wrote my book, everybody, My Journey from Darkness to the Light. Matthew has his books. How many do you have? 5, 6 of them? A lot.
I have 8 published. I just finished a 9th that's ready for publishing. I don't know when that'll be out, but
wow. So it's crazy, and especially you're sensitive, I'm sensitive. And when we open those doors, of course, it's not always a good positive energy, but the negative comes in too. So that's how we have to protect ourselves. And how do you protect yourself? Rosary, right?
I'll tell you, I know when it's demonic. A lot of times I'll see them, they like to be around the moonlight at night. So that's why some of those bigger ones you've seen over my roof were there to drive those away. One night, though, my wife was watching a serial killer movie, and I used to do actual murders in the Army, so I just didn't want to watch it.
Oh, my gosh.
Went to bed, woke up, no alcohol, no prescription meds, nothing, no drugs. I see her in my room and her back's turned to me and I'm like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? And turns around, face goes black and jumps into the wall.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
I knew that was clearly Satan, something very high up like that, Apollyon, Abaddon, something to really intimidate.
That's scary.
And this was interesting because it was right around the time I had another book coming out. Every time I get the worst attacks every time a book comes out.
Because they don't want you spreading your light. That's why. I
don't want anybody saved right now. So anyways, next day I'm sprinkling holy water over my room. And then I go to church and I say the protection prayers. And I say, can I see the Holy Spirit today at 3:00? 3:00, I'm going to show you guys the photo because it's beyond incredible. But at 3:00, this thing appears literally from sky to sky. Across my entire roof. Here, I'll show it.
Wow. My God, that's beautiful.
So you can see the horns. It's clearly of light. It's clearly the Holy Spirit. Look, you can see the horns on it.
That's beautiful. It's like a unicorn to me.
Yeah, so beautiful. That's obviously not just some chemtrail. That was a manifestation. And it happened at 3:00 when I asked it to happen.
Wow.
So that was that's the other thing I find, like if it's demonic, like the higher order ones, they're so quicker with responsivity. If it's demonic, you might get attacked weeks away, or they're not like, they target you at really odd times. Like when a book's coming out, like don't do anything more to cause us more pain. And that's a good point. Cause like this Catholic priest was trying to explain Lucifer, like, he gets a charge out of deceiving, and especially deceiving Christians. And like when he sees somebody ruin themselves because of what he did, might be some drug scandal or something crazy, minister sleeping with the girl in the choir or whatever, these guys have all these scandals and then they get found out and like they're fired and they're crying. And the exorcist says as much excitement and enjoyment he gets out of that, which is sick, it increases his suffering.
Wow. That's crazy.
And that's such a karmic lesson. I've had people wrong me before. I've had people accuse me of things they were doing, instead of like trying to go after them. I'm going to destroy this person now. You know, the Bible would say, rise above it. We forgive them. Don't seek retribution. Retribution is what. But look, I've fallen into that. I've lashed out, and it was, you know, to right or wrong or to write the record straight. You know, so we got to resist those things, like wanting to control, like the demonic side. You'll always know. Hollywood is a perfect example. Well, the only way for you to get this recording contract or this movie is this. And it's something usually sexually immoral in front of a video, right? So they can blackmail them forever. But that's the hook, the control. I'm going to tell you what movie you're doing. I'm going to tell, you know, they're
all control and manipulation.
Yeah. And we're like, oh, they're such good writers and songwriters. No, they're not witches. They just like, you know, they're just kind of funny. They're being
Wake up, everyone. Exactly.
Look, read the lyrics. They're pretty crystal clear which side they're on.
Exactly.
You know, like using pages of the Bible to do something regarding
immoral,
women's rights, which is yes, really sick. So you can clearly, sometimes it's so obvious the agenda. You know, if I go on Netflix and every movie's about a serial killer or a demon possession, which often is the case. Look what comes out in the theaters. You know, how many Conjurings.
Yeah, people like those nightmares, Scream.
Yeah, they like the scary part of spiritual existence.
Yeah, the evil side.
Yeah. And I will tell you, that's just not the place for, I don't want to live there because I've been exposed to, I've seen murder, I've seen horrible things. You know, I don't want to be overcome by these things. And there's a lot of programming going on and a lot of projection. I think, you know, projection also casts a demon on somebody. So think about it. If I said something, oh, that Linda, I saw her wasted at the bar the other night, and you weren't, right? But I just did it, and then some people believed it, and it harmed your ability to, you know, do a show or get a job. You know, I've had those kind of things happen, and that's clearly like control and slander. It's really slander. Right. And that's always the side, you know, who's doing that. You know, when I channel for people that have lost a loved one, it's to help them heal and see that this person, I'll even get, they're like, oh, can you ask them about, you know, do they remember what color my dress was at the wedding?
Yeah, exactly. Don't you like those funny questions?
And sometimes I give them the answer and they're like, wow, you couldn't have known that, you know, but sometimes they just want you to know they're fine. And then they kind of go.
That's right.
That's what so they're not so. Sometimes they're hanging around in this realm to let the family know, you know. What was amazing, Rhea, like when my nephew drowned last summer, it was horrific. Destroyed my wife's family. And Rhea ended up sending me a photo, and it was his face in the sky looking up at a jade.
She showed it to me. Isn't that freaky?
And what was funny was, so here's spiritual communication. She goes, I think I'm supposed to send this to you, but she didn't know anything about the accident.
Wow, she didn't? Oh, wow.
Something was saying this is for him, knowing with my experience with looking at clouds and reading.
Because that's your thing. Exactly.
Right. I have a friend who's a great watchwoman, and she calls me the cloud guy. You know?
We're going to see your face in the cloud soon.
Well, if it's something that, you know, I can show the Holy Spirit at 3:00 and you're like, whoa, you know, that's the kind of thing. It bring people into belief that we're not the only thing here. You know, there's this whole other realm. Don't fear death. Right. Fear. You know, there's a good T-shirt. I fear the unlived life. Fear. You know, Jesus said, "Don't fear me. Fear the guy that can throw you into there."
Exactly. Crazy, right?
We try as best we can to follow his rules. I mean, we all screw up, but.
We learn from it.
At the end of the day, at the end of the day, what connects me with the gifts I have is number one, belief.
Right.
If you walk into a church and you're trying to pray to talk to somebody's deceased husband and you don't believe people can do that, or you're told that's a bad talent that you have, it's only from a demon, which I know not to be true. You know, if you're in some way discouraged from doing that, or you can't get there in your own mind with, you know, this prayer stuff, it doesn't ever work. Right? So number one, when you're doing this, are you just there for show? Or, you know, do you really believe that you're going to be heard there? or that you can sense them.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, that's what it is. And oh, so they were asking me what's the difference between ancestor spirits and normal spirits. And we only have 2 minutes to answer that.
So things can happen. Like, let's say somebody is a serial killer. I think Richard Ramirez, the LA stalker, was a great example. He admitted to satanic rituals prior to him going on this murderous spree, and he looked pretty possessed in the courtroom. So if he dies, he's going to go with these things that got him to do these things because they want company. So things can latch onto you and that's why, church rosaries, sacraments are to disattach these things or de-attach them. But so many people are, I'm not religious. Those people are kind of, something's wrong with them. We go because we understand that a sacrament in the proper way, seeking out the light for help, can literally pull off something that is of a fallen nature that we didn't even know was there. These things can linger, man. I mean, and then they're usually the way people talk at each other, fighting.
Yes.
They don't realize why they're fighting. Yeah, it can happen. Even with the most prayed up people, which I think I'm, a rosary a day is pretty aggressive.
That's very good.
Yeah. Make fun of me. But some days, like in today's world of open Satanism, it's the only thing, because I'm hypersensitive, that gets me through the day.
Exactly. And quickly, where can they find you if someone wanted to reach out to you?
Matthew Douglas with one S, PINARD.com, MatthewDouglasPinard.com, or punch that name into Amazon. But I honestly give away these books. I've only lost money on them, but people love them.
You're very talented.
People that read them actually, I get 4 and 5 stars, and they're like, one lady sat home from work all day just because she couldn't put them down. So I promise you there's something in it for you, especially if you're kind of like, I'm on the edge about this stuff, or I'm starting to have these experiences myself, and I thought I was crazy. This happened with the one lady I helped that then started getting a flood of things through this guy's. She ended up sending a picture in a group chat I was in, and she's like, can you look at this orb? And I looked at it, and I told her what it was. And like a professional photographer said, no, that's just a lens flare. That's an optical. That's your imagining stuff. We know orbs exist. She had a green one, and I told her about how it meant harmony with nature. And then what was amazing is her son, who had died, I didn't know this, of a really bad disease in his 30s, started coming to me, and I was giving her just this flood. So that's an example of like her son, who was not in a bad place, in a good place, was kind of hovering and may have given her the green orb and said, send it to this guy because I know he can hear me. So, in that realm, there's no kind of boundary with space and time for them, which is really incredible if you comprehend that. And particle physics supports that, by the way.
Yes, and thank you so much, Matthew, for being on, and thank you everybody that joined us today. God bless each and every one of you, and check us out. You can also check me out at healingsonthego.com. I'm all over TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, either under Healings on the Go or Linda DeVitas. Okay, everybody, have a great night. Stay safe and be happy. God bless you all. Have a great night, everyone.